Royal Caribbean's cruise liner Voyager of the Seas created history on February 17, 2011, becoming the first cruise ship to dock at the port of Falmouth on Jamaica's north coast. It was a bonanza for the town of Falmouth, with hundreds of visitors visiting at one time. Jamaica's Transport Minister Mike Henry, who has portfolio responsibility for the port, was gushing with pride at the project.
What you're seeing here is a result, and the important thing to bring out in the whole of the cruise shipping and the visitor market is that you have to expend a great deal of capital in order to attract the visitors that follow. And therefore, in this context, the Port Authority with the Ministry have put in place an investment portfolio of some $270 million. Of that portion, I think about 50% of that will be the landside development, which is a responsibility of Royal Caribbean. Responsibility of the Ministry of Transport and the Port Authority is to expand the cruise industry, and that's why we build the port. And therefore the maritime section is done by us. In that context, therefore, we are building this for the economic growth of the visitor market, and we are expecting to bring in some 600 to 800,000 passengers through this expansion program that is taking place here at Falmouth. And in that context, Mr. Hilton can expand on that. But let me make it quite clear, what we inherited was a concept. And it took a lot of approach by the Port Authority and the Ministry to be able to provide the facilities for the loans to be made available for us to develop the port, which is very important to the development of the cruise shipping industry. Well, I don't think that anyone should ever look at development in isolated areas, because indeed, if we're talking whether it's Montego Bay, Ocherius, or any port, the important aspect here is that you wouldn't get a large cruise liner if you didn't build a port. And if you didn't build a port, as is shown by the downturn of the international impact, you have to accommodate the larger ships to begin to build the cruise industry. And therefore, with this, we're expecting now to not be faced with anybody commenting on cruise shipping drawing down numbers. What we are doing is making sure they can talk about cruise shipping building up numbers. Therefore, the Ministry of Transport and the Port Authority is delivering, and we're still working on the other ports to bring them up to the relative accommodating level that we want to see. Ocherius has its own challenges, but we're still working with Carnival on all the three ports that we have said, and we think that this will enhance the attraction of Jamaica, and ships will call, whether they be big or small, to other ports and big to this port.
Royal Caribbean's Senior Vice President John Tursick emphasized the teamwork which made the upgraded port of Falmouth a reality.
We've been working closely with Mr. Hilton and Minister Henry on this for the last 3 years, putting this together. It's been a joint venture. It's a good way to describe it. We've each brought our sort of skills and capital to the table to make it work, and we have an elegantly structured transaction where the port is paying and is owning the port facility, which will be ultimately around $122 million investment. That's where they've gotten a government loan from Denmark in a very nice structure. Royal Caribbean has made certain commitments where we're going to bring minimum number of ships, which will help to support that financing from the payments that we'll make each time a ship calls in the port. Royal Caribbean, our involvement is we've been the developer for the Port Authority of the project, and we've hired a Danish construction company, Pier, which has actually been the constructor of it.
The Port of Falmouth's official opening comes March 22, 2011, when the mega liner Oasis of the Seas makes her maiden call. For Business Content Jamaica, I'm Owen James.